Hello and welcome to a very special feature episode here on the Sligo Show with myself, Brendan Tierney. We have JJ O'Hara from FutureCast. JJ, you're very welcome to come onto the Sligo Show to tell us about your amazing business. And I got all the notes today and I was like, wow, this company does a lot more than you could even begin to get into it. But for anyone that hasn't a clue or never heard of you, can you just give us a little brief idea of what is FutureCast?
Yeah, so FutureCast was set up about 5 years ago. It's an innovation, R&D and education centre for the quarry, construction and manufacturing supply chain around that. We're based in Manorhamilton, we're based in Sligo and we're based in Roscommon. But what we do is demystify innovation to people and, look at what's new around the world. What can we bring to Ireland and how do we do it? What way we do it and how do we deliver it?
And like from reading the notes and chatting to you, it seems like you'll hold the hand of the person or the business along the way. We've seen the technology, we'll help you adapt it, help you with funding and training. So it's not like, here's the stuff, now go do it yourself. It seems to be.
Yeah, no, look, we work with them and we look at what they need, what's the solution, what's the deliverance, how do we do it, help them along a whole journey. And, our team, we've 22 of a team and, we bring them on a journey and, get them to the end part of it. But it's looking, a lot of people think innovation is hard done or, can't be done or, but a lot of people does innovation in a normal day-to-day process and they don't know they're doing it. That's the biggest thing. And there is different types of funding out there and different R&D tax credits that they should be available of, to get them on the next level,
And well, speaking of a journey, can you give us a little bit of a background? How did you come to this world and to where you are today?
Look at,
innovative as a young man as well?
Innovative, interesting part. We worked in New York for a good few years and we moved back to Ireland and we worked here on the buildings as well. And so
was it specifically a construction company? And
construction. Okay. We've been working in for a good few years and, we also worked in tourism as well. But this idea came out of the ground probably about 5 years ago. We're developing or doing up the W8 Centre and another lad, Shane Kerrigan from Kerrigan Quarries, along us, and we're thinking what could we do and how could we develop it. And in fairness, we worked with Enterprise Ireland and Joel Mullen and Carol and, Maeve and, a great team there in Enterprise Ireland. So it helped us to develop this idea. And so today we've over 22 working and W8 Centre is probably nearly 100 people working today in it, whereas derelict building 5 years ago.
Okay. So just give us a little bit more brief on the buildings you have and the up and coming future projects.
So look at it, there's in Manorhamilton there's 3 commercial buildings, there's a restaurant site, there's holiday houses on site, but we have another new building that we're spending 3 million on, which is going to be geological material science and prototype building, which is the first time in Ireland at the moment. There is no other place that does prototype building. And now when we say prototype, it's from your small thing up to maybe 100 ton, So this is to do with, you said geological, so science, like is it more to do with quarrying industry or the science? Or quarry industry, quarry and probably agricultural industry and the geological material science. And we have the latest technology in XRF machines that can
what's an XRF machine? Because I obviously haven't got a clue of this.
Yeah, so XRF is a chemical base. You go out and you can test the stone or you can take an X-ray of the stone and it'll give you a chemical analysis of it.
So is it kind of like a college or is it your staff training and testing and stuff? Is that
we're trying to get there, to college level. Like now we work very closely with ATU and we have a great board and Chris O'Malley is their chairperson of our board out of ATU. So look at, I think we work with a lot of college all over Ireland now as well, so some very interesting programs
And you were saying you're in Roscommon as well?
Yeah, we opened a new centre there in Roscommon there in June. The centre is a just transition programme. The idea there, we do all mechanical electrical training. So the lathes and welders, lasers, different types of saws, teaching people, real practical stuff. A lot of people probably for the mechanical electrical industry, for data centres, they're working all over the world and, different industries like that. So we work with different ETBs as well, like Mayo, Sligo, Leitrim ETB or Galway, Roscommon or, Monaghan, Cavan, Monaghan. So we work with different ones. A lot of our stuff is to demystify probably 1 to 5 days of education for something new in the world.
So it sounds like you find something innovative and you go, let's bring it back here. Let's create a training package and help them maybe get the funding to get this technology and use it in business. Would that be a kind of a very brief?
That would be a very brief, you know what I mean? Yeah. But look, there's some great interesting stuff around the world, like, you know what I mean? And we're always traveling. We're in Germany in 2 weeks' time now. It's pyrolysis technology. Okay. So we're looking at, you know, biochar, and it can be with hemp or willow or silk spruce trees, and making them more value use for them, and how that brings it into industry. And some of that biochar can come into the concrete industry, use it as lower carbon concrete. So different interesting, you know, so there's a lot of different mixes there.
So this is moving away from how would you say, to less waste, I suppose, and more natural products, and how they can be used in real life industry.
Yes, used in real life, and how we can lower the carbon, like in cement and concrete and that.
Right, okay. Well, I have to go on to the cement. We'll come back to more technology, but you have a 3D concrete printer?
Yes, yeah, we bought a 3D concrete printer probably 3 years ago now, and the whole idea was to, you know, demystify it into the industry, and we had to get certification, and that took about 2 years. So the first 3 houses were done in Louth there last year. So we done 3 houses printed in 30 hours.
Hold on now, just pausing a second. You did 3 houses in 30 hours?
Yeah, they printed the superstructure in 30 hours, you know.
So now, just my vision. So I walk on the site, there's a machine, and it keeps moving on to sections of the house, is it? And it can go all up second floor?
Yeah, it keeps going at 50 mil each time. It just keeps going round. It's like a normal small printer.
Yeah.
But this is a 3-story high, you know. So we have a smaller one we teach people on. So we'll be teaching out in St. Clare's now. We're in Clooney as well, in Sligo. We're intending on moving it probably around the country a wee bit as well. Wow. We had it in Donegal there earlier on this year. So the whole idea is just, you know, showing the technology out there. The guys are in Belfast with a machine there last week in Belfast University. They printed an office hut. So look, with some interesting products that are coming out at the moment. You know?
Do you think those products, how close are they to becoming the norm for most construction companies? Like, is it closer than we think?
I think it is closer. I think, you know, one of the things we're doing now at the moment, and they're going printing next week, is tiny homes. And the whole idea there is, you know, for homeless, and, you know, looking at it, you know, for what is something new, something different, something safe. And so we'll have that, you know, done in probably about 4 weeks' time. And we'll showcase it to all the councils around Ireland as well. So just showing us, you know, how can we do things different? Thinking a wee bit out of the box, and that'll be done with low carbon concrete, you know, and showing, you know, what does the house, and it'll be nearly energy neutral as well, because there'll be solar on it, and, you know, so it's just, you know, looking out to the box a wee bit and using different types of technology. And I think, you know, some of the people who are training that industry, we lose about 80% of our people in the construction industry at the age of 40, plasters, brickies, you know, because just of the weather and stuff like that. They're the people we think we can train and into this new type of technology.
I was about to say that, because the obvious thing first time I was like, oh yeah, well, all the jobs will be gone. Well, there'll be no washing mixers either at the end of the day, I'm sure. But like, that's the thing, it's adapting. There'll still be humans needed to run all this. It's making the process simpler and easier.
Yeah, look at the process there. The guys are holding a tablet, you know what I mean, instead of actually building brick or building, you know, block.
Do you have to wear a hard hat then when you hold the tablet?
That's debatable. And trying to get them to do that is always a problem, like, you know. But well, it's good. Look, it's where Ireland needs to be. You know, we need to keep moving with the technologies, you know.
And I like, is it cheaper to kind of produce a house like that, or is it just the technology element is still a bit pricey to kind of engage?
The technology element is still pricey, but will get cheaper. Like, we think, you know, in time it'll be about 20% cheaper for superstructures. But that is going to take another wee bit of time, and, you know, it's on a journey. And I think, you know, looking at the different type of material that we can put through it, but also the waste, you know what I mean? This is huge for waste. So we can crush it back down again, and we can reprint into it. And we're showing our new innovation centre boundary walls that are done in waste, you know. So
you could knock something,
crush it back down and reprint it, you know.
It's fascinating. I didn't know half the stuff. I was like, that's mad. That's and again, I suppose the other thing is, like, if someone's going, we got planning permission, you go, well, maybe their house can now, in future, not that long away, be done much quicker, so there's less wastage and rented and all this.
You know what I mean. I think that'll come. You know what I mean. But it's our process was to get in through NSAI and through certification that people, the mainstream, can use it, and that is the key. You know, of any of these new technologies, and we work a lot on robotics and modular housing as well, and like some of the robotic systems there, modular housing, are very interesting as well. Like, you know,
what's Industry 4.0 or or what's the industry speak for that now? What is it to the layman?
Look, the reality is, robotics automation is Industry 4, all right?
Okay.
Industry 5 is underway, and Industry 6, we're working on Industry 6 AI project at the moment in a modular unit. It is, a step on how fast, industry is moving. Industry is moving very, very fast. And that's, the challenges the youth, and colleges trying to keep up, what's industry need. That's a huge...
The curve of technology development has just gone insane.
It is. And it's going to be huge, and that's going to be the interesting part, as well, And I was on stage maybe 3 years ago in Dublin and had a robotic dog from Boston Dynamics with me, and I was talking about AI and construction. I think everyone thought I was mad in the head. But the reality, that has come so fast, and even some of the new stuff that we have, like from drones, and we give education and teach people and get them licenses on drones. It is happening, you know what I mean? But what it is what we need to do is demystify it for young people,
Okay, and so we will guide you through, as I said, with the trainer. And then even apart from the young people, I suppose, is it more about what your company does? Is it help people get careers, or is it help businesses more so innovate? Would that be the...
Yeah, probably both in one sense. A lot of our education is 1 to 5 days, and we worked in try to, bring them a pathway through to the ETBs or through to the ATU or, different colleges around Ireland, north and south. And, I think one of the interesting programs we have at the moment is a GRASS program, where there's 10 different partners and 3 ATUs, 3 ETBs, Southwest College in Enniskillen and Northwestern Derry, and that'll bring about 2,500 students through. And there's nice school programs there as well in that, where we go out to schools and we talk to kids, from...
What would they be most interested in hearing about?
I tell you, we have a program there now. We've just finished the first school, and it's 6 weeks double class, and we're showing about, different types of housing, different number of roads, bridges, but we have a whole VR experience, and so they can put on, they can fly with a drone on the VR experience. They can actually look at the different technology on it, and, they can build their own home, So it's about that. It's about getting them young kids thinking
letting them
about
realise being tech aware, I suppose, when they're younger, although they're probably tech aware in a lot of other ways, but maybe this would be more useful than some of the tech.
I think it is, but I think it is just even to get them thinking, one thing a lot of kids, they're going to build a house, or they're going to live in a house, or they're going to drive across a road or a bridge, or, just to see what is that made of, what does it look like, and using technology and how the technology works in as well.
Well, speaking of the world of AI and robotics, do you think Ireland is further behind than it should be, or are we up there?
No, I think we're up there. We're playing our part in it, and it's, in fairness with the Enterprise Ireland and different agencies, they're helping to do that big time, and looking at their digitisation processes, and same with Skilling Ireland, and, they're moving with the times, and I have to say, but it is going to be interesting times ahead. AI is going to, there is going to be an interesting job shift. An interesting article to read is called the Iceberg Index of MIT.
Iceberg Index. Yeah. Write that down now.
Yeah, it's an interesting MIT in the US, and there's different, global things that, I was talking to ETB conference about this, and but there is interesting job shifts, that will be happening. And I think one of the most interesting there, 500 others got let go of KMPG, which they thought their jobs were very, very safe. But, that happened there last Monday week, so 500 from the UK and Ireland, so, so an interesting part, some of that, and what's happening. And you take Amazon, they let go since the 17th November, 30,000 staff, Amazon did. But they're also on the construction side, they're looking for 20,000, but they're looking for electricians and plumbers to do data centres, So you have to look at where the shifts...
It's kind of a shift and adapt and be watching for it now.
Watching now. And I think Ireland is doing that. And I think we're, we're always talking to the colleges, see what they're happening, what they're doing. But there is interesting times ahead, I have to say.
Out of all the countries you visited, where would you say is zooming ahead of the rest of us?
Look, there's probably Germany now is an interesting. They're always looking. They're always ahead. In some form. Different parts of the US, as well. But Ireland is well up there. They're well up there. Like, we're probably making a lot of different components for different. And I think we should increase that and look at how the innovative that it is. There is a good entrepreneur and innovative streak in the Irish people. So. I think it's about actually helping that and helping them on a journey to keep moving forward.
Well, I mean, you've seen plenty of tech. What's the coolest thing you've ever seen? What really blew your mind? I want to see the concrete 3D printer, but you've probably seen something much more.
Look, I think, some of the Boston Dynamics, the robotic dog, some of the new drones, underwater drones, they're very, very interesting. There's something very interesting tech, coming down the line. And but I think it's probably showing our kids and showing what's coming up as well, but not letting them, looking at, tech is one thing, but, looking at how does, life balance as well, with it, that's a key part too,
And I mean, for going more into what you do with training, who walks in the door of your business? Is there a process you just walk in and go, what training is there? Or would you have to be associated with a company? Is it for young people? Who is?
Yeah, it's mostly associated with a company, with a program in the Midlands there for unemployed people. We've another program, Industry 4 Skillnet, mostly with companies. So we've kind of a different type of program for different aspects of that. But the GRASS program is from kids straight up to unemployed or working in companies. So there's a good mixture there, what I mean? And, our thing is not reinvent the wheel, but, look at, what's new there, but working very closely with ETBs and ATU and different colleges as well.
And does someone you're obviously in a certain sector, but does someone have to have experience in that sector to come in and work with you or get trained up by you? Is that it sounds like there's a variety of training options.
There is. We probably, I think it's about 120 different education courses that we have, on offer from the different programs, and some very interesting ones, you know what I mean? And I think it's good to be able to do it here in the Northwest too, I think that's a key thing,
Yeah, obviously you're a Sligo man, and I mean, you've had
a Leitrim man.
Oh, sorry, okay.
All right.
When you said Parks Castle, I was like, well, no, I couldn't get that
just
wrong.
half a mile across the border. Now, there's always great banter, down through the years. But look at Sligo is my hometown, but we're just across the border.
But did you have a grog on, I'm not just shipping off up to Dublin, I want to keep this here? Because you've obviously got your different locations all in the Northwest and West.
No, I think that's a key. I think we looked at this the first day. I think, if we've got to do this in Leitrim, Sligo, or Scammon, I think is key because, and it has proven good because the talent we have in our team is people move back and join our team. I think that's the key. So we've some great people working with us, and we've come with the idea, but it's the team that makes it work too.
And with all your training, there must be some great success stories of someone completely changing their career or someone getting a career. As you said, maybe people are unemployed in that. So that must give you a great buzz.
There is, there is some good and some very good. And I think some of the programs we run, we have a young entrepreneurs program as well. We do a Winterfest in the winter or at Christmas time. I think our first success out of that, there's a lad gone on to open his own business. You know what I mean? So
just young, young schools kind of.
Yeah, he's 21 now, but but it's interesting to see, how can that, and we're involved in another thing called Spectacular, where there was I think it was 120 schools this year who are sponsoring it, and in Ballinamore, I think it's a great thing, and that's all national schools. But some of their ideas that they're coming up with, you want to go around and you want to listen to their ideas, you know what I mean? And I think that's their future, but I think that has to be kept more and more in schools, Yeah,
well, I often see the Young Scientist of the Year or the Young Enterprise Award, and we, there's this kind of sometimes a narrative that, teenagers, they're always on their phone, but it's a wash with creativity and intelligence out there. But as you said, if you can just, actually give them a chance to do it, and they'll blow you away.
And I think, and we see some great stuff happening. I remember a kid, and he was above in Spectacular, and he was describing toothpaste, but he went into such a depth. I actually never knew it as much about it.
Yeah.
But it's very, very interesting, but look at, every kid I was saying that kid, we need him as a scientist in maybe 10 years' time. You know, so
just to guide him on that path to make sure that he's excited by it and enjoys it.
Enjoys it. Like, and look, at science, you know, it's always something that's kind of left behind, you know, and I think we have geology and material science now, and I think that's something that'll actually grow, like, you know what I mean? And look, it'll take probably a 10-year process to actually really have a good, decent, high volume within that. But I think it's going to be interesting. Like, and a lot of people only see rock or see stone and so just that's it, rock or stone. But you know, we're there in Finland there earlier on this year, or it was in November. But sand battery technology, where they were storing the heat within it was soapstone. We have here, you know, different types of stone that we can use the same thing, same value, you know, to store energy. So they're doing their second plant now in Finland, you know, so it's interesting technology.
It must be a very exciting industry to be in, because it's like you're always looking for the next best thing. Like,
you are. Look at our thing; they're all big machines as well. You know what I mean? And we see some great innovations. There's a guy from outside Roscommon there, full autonomous tractor, like, you know, very interesting with a full...
In testing, or is he using it?
No, he's getting there, like a full NVIDIA's chip. You know, you can drive it from any place. Very interesting, you know what I mean? And there's some very interesting people there that actually are doing some, you know... I think, you know, a lot of innovations come from, you know, maybe farming background or from different, you know, type of, you know, rural area or rural communities. I think it's about helping that and how we develop that. But, you know, some one of the newer projects that we're at now at the moment, we're with councils going around Ireland looking at, you know, more industry space. So we have a lack of industry space in Ireland, and that's one thing we're trying to fix at the moment. So north and south, so we have a programme there at the moment to look at that, just where people can start out, and it's space they need, you know, so that'll be interesting. Like,
okay. Well, I mean, you mentioned the different opportunities and funds and that, but can you tell us a little bit more about, like, when someone comes to you, go, look, I have an idea, or I want to innovate that thing you showed us, you helped them with the funding. Like, so what kind of funding, what kind of levels of funding? Can you tell us about some of the funds?
No problem. So look, we have one fund is called Smart Regions Enterprise Funding. It's with Enterprise Ireland, and which we have, you know, different programs from 12.5 to 37,000 that we can work with them, to our team to work with them.
So do you take the headache of doing that strain of paperwork? We'll guide you. So that's, I think, is a massive opportunity. People
and we'll show them all the different type of funds there. We do a webinar every year, what funding is available. Some of our team, we have 4 good writers at the moment, and that skill set is growing. We have 14 European programs going on at the moment, which 3 of them are women in construction, getting women into construction. We have some very interesting science programs within Europe. But like, what we do is look at, we have, you know, SREI is one fund. We have Factory Exchange is another.
What's Factory Exchange?
Factory Exchange. So we're an EDIH Centre for Europe now. We're a National Innovation Centre for Europe. So this is 100% funding. So we're a team of ours can work with the people to help them to actually do other aspects in it. So there's a good, if you look at factoryexchange.ie, it shows you all the different aspects there.
Is that like factories helping each other or exchanging knowledge? Or
it's exchanging knowledge, but it's about getting specific knowledge. You know what I mean? So you might look at, how do I want to automate my factory? So there's a fund there to say, look at automation expert come in to look at your automation process and map it out for you. So different stuff like that. We work with the Leader program as well, which is a very good program. Several different companies that actually got funded through that. Local LEOs, like LEOs in each of the counties around. But it's, you know, I think there's a lot of funding out there, but it's just about showing them how to do it and how to access it as well.
Yeah, and I know that's a big stumbling block for a lot of people, going, oh, hold on, what? How do I do it? You know, how do I write it, or what's the best way to approach it? And sometimes when you're shown that, I think it really opens the door up for you, like, you know. Yeah,
and we use 3 words to write. You know, is need. What's the need? What's the solution you're trying to bring, and how you're going to deliver it? Need, solution, and deliverance. So we just, everything else, knock out the noise, They're the three words that we use to write funding. And we've been very successful with companies getting them funding as well. But the key thing is, get them on a pathway. And this, brings extra jobs to them as well. And looking at one of our programs that we're going to do this year is an internationalization, an education program, how to internationalize. The small things. How do you set up a company in the US? How do you get insurance? What is your L1, L2 visas if you're working? Same across Europe. What is the new thing there is a European company that you can work right across Europe like. So some of that type of stuff that we help people with. But it's just demystifying a lot of that stuff for them as well.
And it isn't just for big companies.
No,
Could have someone with an idea, could they even to the little thing of picking your brain maybe?
We love the person with the idea, because we'd have a team there nearly jump at ideas,
Okay.
So the idea is important, and it's about maybe scoping that out. It's about getting their business plan, their financial plan, how it is with two in-house accountants. So it's just mapping that out and how they're going to look at, over the next 5 to 10 years. Yeah. Look at R&D tax credits is up 30%. It's at 30% now. A lot of people don't use them, don't even look at them. Kind of scares the living daylights out of people. I think there's a decent, while people should look at that. So there is a lot of stuff there. And even the agencies like Enterprise Ireland here in Sligo, you couldn't get a better team, you know what I mean? And that's the genuine. But they're mad to help you, you know what I mean? Yeah. But go in and ask them, okay. Don't be, and same with the Leo here, you know what I mean, with Liam and the guys here in Sligo as well. Great team, and the council and that, So it's about going and asking them and asking for their help,
Yeah. And would you kind of be saying to someone, if it's kind of a smaller idea, go to those first, and then that might lead to ye, or would you go to ye first?
You can come to us, and we can either or, doesn't matter, and we can help them. We'll help them along the way,
So obviously, you said you love your Northwest, and I presume this is really important for you to keep the talent here and encourage talent over. And do you think what you're doing is really keeping jobs in this region?
I think it is. You know what I mean. I think we can probably even do more out of Europe. We see a lot of different programs in Europe, and we bring groups here. One of our programs is AI learning for English language teachers. We had 35 of them here. We have a group in the month. We have another group in May. It's a much,
So is that a 5-day, your short course again?
They come. They're staying here for 5 days or 4 days. Both of them groups are staying 4 days. But they're staying in Sligo here. They're eating in Hargreaves. They're eating in the Glass House. It's all about flowing. Around.
And people from where are these people coming from?
Oh, they're from all over Europe. From universities or colleges all over. We have 40 partners right across Europe now. I think our new EDIH centre it'll be real, because it's the first time there's something like that in the west of Ireland. I think that's going to be interesting, and how we can leverage that across Europe. But I think there's a huge opportunity there, even Erasmus mobility, getting students here, and showing them what we have here. Our biggest thing here is we're bringing them out, showing the new technology, showing the education, but bring them to Strandhill, bring them to Ross's Point.
It's tourism impact.
You know what I mean? It's a huge. I brought them on a trip there, brought them into Stamford and Dromahero, brought them into Parks Castle, brought them out to Strandhill. Where would you get it? You know what I mean?
A lovely part of the world to visit or live.
And the amazing thing about it, 4 of them couples came back since, that was last November, 4 of one group, and 4 came back since. So I think it's important how we mix tourism and education together. Just maybe thinking out of the box.
I assume the ATU, rising up the ranks as well has been a big help.
Look, in fairness to the team, they're very good. Like Trevor McSharry's leading it. Chris O'Malley, he's chairperson of our board. We have a great board as well, of local people and different people right around that's on our board, and I think very impressive. But I think the ATU is a lot. They have a lot of new programs coming out there. They're always thinking out of the box a wee bit. I think it's good, to have that level of the they have a new space program. They're down in which is an interesting area, and it's going to be interesting for the future as well.
And it's such an important part, or such a important facility for the Northwest. And you're tying in. It sounds this whole thing is mad. What's going on? When you walk down the town and you see businesses and offices, you go, what's going on there? So that's why I love having chats like this. You actually get under the skin of it. What would you say? Would be the biggest myth about innovation?
I think a lot of people do innovation every day of their lives, but I think it's just identifying what to do. It's amazing. There's two guys that work with us, and they go into a factory, and they're not talking to the manager. Yeah. They're talking to the person on the ground that actually working machines, and they know they're working some machine every day of the week, all right? Yeah. And maybe sometimes it's about listening to your staff in the factory or in a process and say, look, could they do it easier? Could they do it better? Yeah. Maybe he's even taking an idea of putting a promotion. What is this look like?
Yeah.
I think it's just thinking out of the box a wee bit, but I think ourselves as people, I think there's huge innovation ideas out there, but I think sometimes we can lose them if we don't give them a process and how to get forward. A certification is a big challenge, and everything that we do has to be certified to get into the building industry, and a lot of people are kind of scared of that. I'd be on that at Manufacturing Council in SREI, but we bring them on journey and say, look, this is how you do it. This is, the different steps that you need to get a product into certification. So I think that they're the interesting parts of innovation. So really the first thing you want to say, what's your need? What is your solution you're bringing to it? How are you going to deliver it? What's your certification? And get it to market, But there's a lot of help out there.
Yeah, well, that's what I said. I'm learning all that myself from just having this chat. And future is in the business name. What's the next 5 or 10 years? Where do you see the biggest changes in our daily lives? So what do we see really growing?
Look at AI, robotics, automation is going to be well up there. It's going to be probably an interesting time. We see probably 40% of houses are going to be made in the factory and shipped to site. Probably 3D printing will be 10% to 15% of a house building. But it is going to change, you know what I mean? And I remember with a business in Sligo here 30 years ago, and I had a mobile phone and it was like a brick, you know what I mean? And it was big as a brick, but how has this changed? And that at the time, so I think there'll always be change, but it's how quick we adapt to change, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think that's going to be interesting.
If businesses are making a mistake now, maybe in your opinion, would it be listen to your staff, like you said, or is it be open to innovation? Or
I think it's be open to innovation, but also listen to your team. You know what I mean? Because there's always, some one of them has maybe a better idea or how to look how you innovate something I think that's the interesting part too. But Ireland has a huge changes coming, especially in the tech industry. But we also have huge, amazing young people coming along. Our thought process is we need to get more people into trades, you know what I mean? And, trades, help build houses, help build bridges, help build roads. Tomorrow I'm at the railway conference in Dublin, where there's probably an announcement there tomorrow. There's going to be a lot of new railway coming into Ireland and projects and that. There is definitely, good developments going on here, but it's about how we foster it as well.
Foster it and help them along, and if someone is interested to get in touch with you or go, can you lead me on this way? What's the best way to find you or to get in touch?
Yeah, look at our website there, futurecast.info or info@futurecast.info. That's probably the best way, or on our phone lines either. So there's always someone at the end of a phone. But just come to our office in Manorhamilton either. We're in WA Centre. You'll see FutureCast. So we're very open, and we'll give you an hour to have a chat and, and see what might be. One thing about us, we're open to see, give a chance as well, you know what I mean? And maybe, think out of the box. We would help the idea flourish a wee bit. Some people comes in with ideas and they come in with some great ideas and, maybe a wee bit left or a wee bit right and it works, and we get into industry. So I think it's about that. And that's what innovation is, and R&D as well, about so. Yeah, I think there's interesting times ahead, but we're open for the challenges as well, I think.
And am I right in saying that you're not-for-profit organisation? So when I walk in, it's just no big fees necessarily or whatever? Or how does that work?
Yeah, so look, we're power funded by government, by Enterprise Ireland, Skillnet Ireland. While we're non-for-profit, we've, some of our programs are 80-20%.
Yeah.
Some of them are fully funded. But you know what I mean? We also have to pay the bills during the day.
No, but as I said, I had known that from the notes that because some might go, sure, that's a huge consultancy, it'll cost me thousands. But no, there's means and ways of
structuring it, and I think that's the key to it as well, and it is just trying to help them company get on a journey as well. I think a lot of companies don't understand, each company is 300,000 de minimis, and de minimis funding is where you can get help from government agencies, to work with them and help them out, and people don't access that, and we show them how we can access that and show them how to do it, so some good funding there for any new jobs, out there. There's always the Leos and the councils. They're mad to look at that. And to do with export products, there's definitely, some very interesting there. But it's just come up with an idea and we'll help you along the journey.
Well, I mean, on this show, we chat to people and sometimes you have an idea what's going to be talked about, and other times you go, wow. So this is one of those interviews. It's really interesting to learn what is on our doorstep, and in 5 years, what you've grown, but it seems like it's a real centre of nurture and creativity, and we strive for more innovation. So it's very interesting.
I think we have a new centre now opening in around the 20th of June. That new prototype, See, there's a load of ideas which, what we see with masters and PhDs in colleges, and the sad thing about it is when they're finished their programme or their thesis or their project, that's it. So what we're trying to do is mix them with industry and see, can we build out some of the ideas, I think that's going to be an interesting aspect of it, also with companies just that have a space to go, they can build something, and something help them on the design, could be hydraulics, metronics, and help them on that process, but also able to, there's going to be laser there, lasers, you have welders here, so we're very much into making stuff. I think the interesting thing, one of our guys there printed lately was a basketball, 5 basketballs for the Irish basketball team, but it's from recyclable plastic. I should have brought it in with me. Bouncing, no air in it, but it's all, engineered to bounce. Wow. And I'll drop you one in because I think it's an interesting.
That's mad.
Yeah, our thoughts. If you can engineer that, you can engineer anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A ball. People think there's 1.5 billion balls sold in a year.
Okay.
And we made this out of recyclable plastic. You know what I mean? So that is Mark McGowan, very interesting. With some great talent within our team. So I think if we get them come talk to us, we've definitely different people in our team that can help.
I mean, as I said, I when we were doing our chat before, and I said this could be a series. And even after chatting now, it's there's so many strands to what you do, but it just sounds like it's a great project as regards it's there to help. You know what I mean? And if you're nervous at starting something or you don't know the first step, even if you only go in for an hour or half an hour, you might be led the right path. If that's all your interaction with FutureCast may be, it sounds like it's a great place to go.
Look at it. There's I think some are interesting, like we work with a lot of companies and a lot of bigger companies as well. We also have the school program. I think the schools program now, our first school we done in Drumcairden, it is very interesting. We have funding now 5 more. Hopefully after that we'll get more, to do more schools. And that's what we're doing with transition year, but just showing them over 6 weeks, double classes, what's there, you know what I mean? So our thought process over a 10-year period, what will them kids, if we can show them, we have 4 of the latest types of training and robotic systems there. Real robots that kids can come on. We bring in several schools in, and we'd like to see schools come on. You know what I mean? Each of them, they're 140 grand each, but all you do is press reset,
they give them a good test.
They can get a good test, but that's what we need to do. If we're going,
of course, it creates intrigue. Yeah.
If we're going to be, up with Chinese, Japanese, anyone or the US around the world, I think we have to the kids play around to actually see.
Great. Well, JJ, thanks for coming in, for telling your amazing story, and thanks for what you're doing for our region, keeping it all over here as well, and innovating as you go. So the very best of luck, and I can't wait to see that basketball.
No problem. We'll get it. We'll drop it in here. All right. Thank you.
And that was JJ O'Hara from FutureCast. Go and check them out. And if you've listened to the interview, I think you'll be definitely giving them a bell if you have an idea or you want to learn more about innovation or help or support or training that they have. That's all for this very special episode. Thanks to Brian behind the cameras, and thanks to the Hawkswell for giving us our lovely space here. We'll see you all again next time.
The Sligo Show is produced by Pixel Productions and hosted by Brendan Tierney. If you need video for your business or live event or would like to appear on the show, send us a message today.